I do not want communism back. And Kamala is a communist.
Oh my God. I haven't seen sunrise in weeks, guys. I have been deep. I've been deep in the pits of a disgusting rabbit hole. I hope you're ready. Because I'm about to shove you down it. If you were like me and most of America in 2016, you were screaming FDP. Donald Trump, right? We were all doing it, even in 2020. Maybe even in 2024, some of us. Not me personally, but I'm sure there's still people singing it out there. This November, it was my plan to vote for RFK Jr. Being a conspiracy girl, I have always looked up to him since COVID and the way he stood his ground when it came to his thoughts on COVID and how they tried to silence him. The strength in that man. Okay, let me just take you guys back to like April of 2024. Maybe even March, because I'm trimming trees. It's pre-spring. And I'm trimming my grandma's trees and I'm listening to RFK talk about his newest book to Russell Brand. He's talking to Russell Brand. Sorry guys, it's really cold out. He's talking to Russell Brand about his book and how he plans on running for president, and I lose my mind. I lose my mind. I'm like, wait, what? We're gonna run for president? This is crazy. And he's running independent because the Dems didn't want him, which is even more crazy. And so, as you know, RFK, after the assassination, joined Trump's team, and I decided to vote RFK anyways, because we had such big numbers. I think he was pulling in 30%. I'm not even kidding. He left and he said, please vote for Trump. He's going to save the world. And I know I'm not the only Maha girl. Maha! Maha! I know I'm not the only Maha girl to jump ships, okay? So today, I'm bringing you something very special. I am about to shove you straight down the rabbit hole that I just crawled out of. Now, though I won't be guiding you guys down the whole way, I will be there at the bottom to walk you through every level, where we will be diving into the clutter of this year's election. I will be exposing so much. We will be talking the reasons I did not vote for Kamala, the reasons I did vote for Trump, and if you guys are really into this one, the election one, you guys can follow me for a ton more conspiracies at Into the Mystic, okay? We'll be jumping into the Mystic. We will gear up for a grime-filled deep dive. You can expect the Trump of it all, Kabbalah Kamala, the Dems that diddle, and so much more. But for now, enjoy the ride down.
My humble view. Lights out, please. Welcome back. The next president of the United States. I think it's going to be a blowout, actually. I don't think it's going to be a close race. I think there are going to be those Republicans that can vote for Harris. It'll be tight on election day. As always, it will. The polls will be tight, and then he'll lose. You call us trash. Oh, Jay Vance. You just stepped up in a way that I've never seen in my political life, and I worked for Sarah Palin. I would say take Harris over 270 electoral votes. Let these fools and these crypto markets do something. Let them drive the betting line into a favorable place and then take advantage of it. That's what I would do. I think she's gonna whip. You wrote Trump is toast. You stand behind that today. Oh, even more so. I feel the same way that I felt a few weeks ago that Trump is toast.
It was described as that of a funeral right
now. I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now.
What's wrong with you?
I get it.
So stressed.
But we must accept the results of this election.
Key voting blocks like Latinos, Trump increased his results by 27%, with Asian American voters 12%, even younger voters 13%. And we saw this all over the country in places like Miami-Dade County, including in battleground states like Pennsylvania.
Holy Toledo. All right, Trump gained ground in 49 states and the District of Columbia compared to 2020. You have to go all the way back to 1992 when Bill Clinton improved upon Michael Dukakis's performance in 49 states, plus the District of Columbia. The bottom line is no matter where you looked on the map, Kate Baldwin, no matter where you looked, Donald Trump was improving on where he did 4 years ago, except for Washington State. It is no wonder that at this particular point, he looks like he's going to be the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush back in 2004. Yeah, holy Toledo. It's just like, oh my goodness gracious. These are the types of groups that you would never have thought that Donald Trump would have gained so much support among 8 years ago when he first won against Hillary Clinton. Trump's was the best GOP showing among 18 to 29-year-olds in 20 years. You have to go all the way back to 2004. How about among black voters? It was the best performance for a Republican candidate for president in 48 years since Gerald Ford back in 1976. And among Hispanic voters, the exit polls only go back since 1972. But Donald Trump's performance on Tuesday was the best for a Republican presidential candidate in exit poll history. He literally goes all the way back through history and breaks history. That is what he did. If the 2016 election was about Donald Trump breaking through with white working class voters, this election was about breaking through and going to that Democratic coalition and tearing it apart.
It trickled down to helping the Senate and helping in the House?
Yeah, we don't know if the Republicans are going to have a House majority, but we think that that's the most likely to be the case. House GOP wins by more than 2.6 points. It will be the best House GOP showing in a presidential year in the House popular vote since 1928. If there's any viewer out there who is that old, God bless you. But the bottom line is it was probably the best House GOP national vote showing during most of our viewers' lifetimes in a presidential year.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
We've seen a massive political realignment in America along class lines. So the biggest divider in America is not actually left versus right, as everybody saw on election night. It's the elites versus the working class, credentialed, college-educated, and people who work with their hands for a living, people who don't have a degree. The Democrats created an economy that was an upward transfer of wealth from the working class, the hardest working Americans, into the pockets of the elites. And as a result, working class Americans of all races stopped seeing themselves reflected in the Democratic Party.
Trump, 78 years old, you know what he says? I want a young, vibrant team of go-getters who can get the job done, who will do what needs to be done. He should be applauded for this. And we don't need any lectures from a Democrat Party that flopped Tampon Tim on the nation like he was a legitimate vice presidential candidate. The biggest freak in the history of American politics in 1,000 different ways. He was qualified to be vice president. He's not qualified to be the janitor at the Department of Agriculture. And I like the janitor at the Department of Agriculture. And then they flop out there Harris, who's not qualified to be vice president, let alone president.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
And the American people knew it. And then they gave us Joe Biden, Dementia Joe, 5th stage of 7 stages of dementia.
And he grabs my arm and he says, the speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Will y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about. Liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me, stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order. He goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. You paused it. I know, I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
Whose early record, his early career, the first 10 years in the Senate, was as a racist segregationist.
You know what Jesse Helms talked about? Before he died, he said, I made a big mistake, Joe. I should have never said what I said. And by the way, I didn't get on with him at all. But know what he said? He said, I should have never said what I said about, all those folks just got out of trees not long ago like monkeys.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
He said, I was wrong about that. I want to take it all back. People can change, but you got to know them. You got to talk to them. Doesn't mean you'll do it, but things can change. By the time Strom Thurmond left the United States Senate, I'm not making a case for him. Strom Thurmond had an illegitimate child with a black woman. Never denied it, never stopped paying for his upbringing. There's a lot of strange people.
And they're going to pass judgment on us? Bernie Sanders, who is a Stalinist Marxist, he's going to pass judgment? Chuck Schumer, who never worked a private job in his entire life, he gets out of law school, he's elected to the Assembly in Albany, New York, elected to Congress, elected to the Senate. That's no Renaissance man. That's a long-in-the-tooth political hack. And we can go down the list. Nancy Pelosi, she's become filthy rich as a result of having been speaker and so forth and so on. So these failures, these has-beens, these people of the past, these long in the tooth.
Does want to drain the swamp. And when you begin to drain it, well, all of those creatures start showing their teeth and hissing and wailing and snapping at you.
Washington, hangers on. They're going to tell us who's qualified and not. There needs to be pushback here.
Donald Trump's second inauguration, what I believe to be the beginning of a historic presidency, one that might just save our republic. Donald Trump won in a landslide victory, despite all the political, character, and even physical attacks. It's really quite unbelievable what he was able to achieve under such heavy fire from the left.
I thought thought he should have punched him in the face. So even if you lost, he insulted your wife. Yeah, he down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should punch him in the face. And then got out of the race. He would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death. Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there, pulling up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated. I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a clock and you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore.
Consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump. Danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
Stick with it? Until when? They successfully have him assassinated?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't hearing pew-pew fire in the red state of Florida as common as hearing birds sing? I'm sure it wasn't personal. Please don't flatter yourself.
Found out about this shit. It just happened. I haven't even had a second to process. You're telling me somebody finally had the balls to bring a pew-pew, and he missed! We were a second away! We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed! There was a white man attached to that trigger. I know it! We were a centimeter away! Oh!
Thankfully a centimeter away. That's how close it came to hitting Trump and damn near going through his head.
Harvey Oswald would never. John Wilkes Booth would never.
I think they said, take a look at what happened.
El blanco, darle muerte al objetivo. Quién sabe por qué razón a Trump no lo quieren vivo, pero sucedió un milagro, porque les falló aquel tiro. Sangre en su rostro, Donald Trump se levantó, levantando sus dos manos, expresando, aquí estoy, vamos a seguir peleando, y la gente se alegró.
I'm standing there pointing at him. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof. 5 shots ring out.
I was looking around myself and seeing a guy on top of one of the buildings. Went and told the officer that he was up there. People could still see the person from where they were standing. Went back to tell the officer that if he came over there, he could see them when the shots started. And then it took me a second or two to figure out exactly what it was.
Protesting, what else do you suggest? Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say? Murder. She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just kidding. Don't say that. That's you don't know. They'll pick up on that and just run with it. Yeah, that's the worst. She's just kidding. Well, let me talk to you about
It's more interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. Do you ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon. They all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam! Right in the fucking head.
It's remarkable, I think.
I don't really see any obstacle. I've made the observation, and I do believe that legacy media died on November 5th, and they don't have the power, the impact, the influence that maybe they did when you were Speaker. Don't know how to handle him. They've thrown everything they could possibly think of at him, and it wasn't successful. Well, the media are back to, calling him or Elon Musk a Nazi. That's what they seem to have been reduced to. I think all his nominees get through, and I think his agenda gets through.
Look, I guess my only caution, Sean, would be this is phase one. This is not the realignment. This was the ticket to get into the dance. Now we've got to dance well enough that we keep the House in 26, and we've got to deal with a world that's dangerous. There was a reason that John F. Kennedy had a little boat, or rather a little plaque on his desk that said, "Oh Lord, your ocean is so big and my boat is so small." We're now in a world of North Korea, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, Israel. And in that kind of a world, you have to remember every morning with a certain humility, even as big as he is, and a little bit of luck, a little bit of humility, recognizing how much bigger the problems are than we are. Every day doing your job as best you can. I think he has a real chance, not just for the U.S., but by definition, if you change history here, you're going to change history across the planet. You see it in Argentina, you see it in Italy. There are people who are becoming Trump-like, following Trump-like policies, and I think that will spread.
Under communism, my country was under communism, and Reagan with John Paul II freed our country, and I will be always grateful to the Republicans of the United States for the freedom of Poland and Europe. My presence here in America is my way to pay respect to those who freed the world from the communism. And that was America and John Paul II. And I do not want communism back. And Kamala is a communist.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes.
Can you please try and explain to me what you interpret by what can be unburdened by what has been?
I don't know if I should say.
If Kamala Harris is as unsophisticated as we think she is, do we really believe that she is quoting from the dark depths of...
Why do you believe she is as unsophisticated as you have just claimed? What did her father do? By the way, I am assuming that I will end up on the Open Skies watch list as a result of this podcast.
That is crazy, by the way, what happened to Tulsi. The quad S on her boarding pass.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush, Clinton, Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive.